What is up, everybody? RetroWolf88 here, and you know what one of my favorite classic retro consoles is? The NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. Such a great console, such a great library of games. However, there are a lot of games in that console that a lot of people never talk about. Hidden gems, if you will. In the last video, we talked about 5 NES games that people never talk about. We talked about Crystallis, Astyanax, Air Fortress, Vice Project Doom, and Karnov. 5 games that I never hear people talk about, and in today's video I have 5 more NES games that I never hear people talk about that I think you should check out and play if you're a fan of the NES. So be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already to join the Retro Wolf family. Kick back, relax, grab an NES controller and a beer, and let's talk about 5 NES games that I never hear anybody talk about that you need to play. First up on the list is the Guardian Legend. The Guardian Legend is a sort of shoot 'em up combined with a Zelda inspired action adventure game. So the game alternates between shoot 'em up levels and action adventure kind of isometric top down view levels, kind of like the Legend of Zelda and Blaster Master. The shoot 'em up levels are incredibly challenging, tough as nails. The first level in the game starts off as a shoot 'em up. Very difficult. Now thankfully it's not a one-hit kill type of game. You have a health meter, and as you take damage, you know, if your health meter goes all the way down, then you die. Now here's what I don't like. You get killed one time and it's game over, at least in the beginning of the game. I don't know if that changes as you progress, and when you get game over you have to start all the way, the level all the way over again. The shoot 'em up sections are pretty basic. You just simply have a shoot button. You can get more weapons as you progress through the game, but you're basically just trying to avoid bullets, trying to shoot all the enemies, and then you fight a boss at the end, which also is hard as nails. It took me 3 times to beat the first boss in the first level. After that initial shoot 'em up level, then you get into the action adventure section, which sort of reminds me of, like I said, a cross between the Legend of Zelda and Blaster Master. The sprites are definitely more similar to Blaster Master than the Legend of Zelda, a little bigger, a little more detailed, and you are moving from screen to screen and you have a large map. The goal of the game, you're a guardian, and you're basically trying to blow up this alien planet that is fixing to come devour the world, devour Earth. And in order to blow up this planet, you have to deactivate 10 devices scattered around the planet so that it initiates a self-destruct sequence and blows up the planet. Gameplay from the top-down perspective, sort of similar to Blaster Master. You have a shoot button, you move, you can shoot in all different directions. You go through the screens and you fight all the different enemies. You get chips that you can then spend to buy more weapons and upgrades. When you make it to the end of the level, that level, then you initiate another shoot 'em up section, or at least that's how it's working in the beginning of the game so far. I'm not very far into the game, but I have to say I am enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. The music is really good. The sprites are really nice. The gameplay is fun. The game is just really difficult. It does have a save system by way of passwords. You get this really long freaking password that you have to keep up with, and then you can use that to start right where you left off. Overall, I would say that this is a hidden gem. I never hear anybody talk about this game, and it is a lot of fun. It's just very hard. You got to take your time with it. You got to learn the game and get better at it. But I do consider this to be a quality NES game, and it is one that I think that you should check out. Next up on the list is a very obscure and not very well known NES 2D platformer, and that is Monster Party. I should say 2D action adventure platformer. In Monster Party, you star as a boy who is on his way home from a baseball game when he gets approached by a gargoyle, who then whisks him off to his dark planet to save it. It's absolutely nonsensical, but it's entertaining nonetheless. You proceed through the levels as the boy, and you're actually fused with the gargoyle, but you start off as the boy, and all you can do is jump, duck, and swing your bat at enemies. So playing as the boy is a little bit difficult, but it is doable if you're careful and you learn the enemy patterns and things of that nature. As you progress through the levels, you will find doors that you will enter. Sometimes those rooms behind the doors are empty, sometimes they contain power-ups, sometimes they contain mini-boss creatures. Your goal in each level, from what I can see so far, is to find the mini-boss that has the key. Use the key to exit the level. Throughout the level, as you defeat enemies, you will get power-ups and things of that nature. Mainly health to heal yourself with, but you'll also get a power-up that will turn you into the gargoyle. And when you turn into the gargoyle, that's when the game gets even better, because as the gargoyle you can fly and you can shoot flame projectiles out of your mouth, and it makes killing the enemies and avoiding them a lot easier. There's a caveat to that though. The gargoyle only lasts a limited amount of time. You cannot stay as the gargoyle forever. It will start to blink and make a noise whenever he's getting ready to transform back into the boy. So while you're the gargoyle, you got to take advantage of it and take out as many enemies as possible, or go into a mini boss room and try to take out a mini boss. Mini bosses are pretty difficult. Most of the mini bosses, if you're the gargoyle, they're not as bad, but if you're the boy and you're trying to kill one of those mini bosses with your baseball bat, that's pretty challenging. Now most of the mini bosses do throw projectiles at you, and if you hit the projectile with your bat, you will hit the projectile back at the mini boss and do damage to it. But even with this ability, it's really hard to defeat the mini bosses as the boy, so it's really advantageous to get in there as the gargoyle. Now, the sprites in this game are pretty good. They're not the best I've ever seen, but they're pretty good. The boss sprites in particular, the mini boss sprites, are actually really good. I enjoy those. The music is decent. It's a solid game, and it's a game that I never hear anybody talk about, so I do consider it to be a hidden gem. I do consider it to be a quality title on the NES, and it's a game that I think you should check out. Next up on the list is a very rare and expensive NES title, and that is Metal Storm. I actually got this recently in a very large game lot that I purchased. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below in case you want to check that out. Metal Storm is a 2D action game with a very cool gameplay mechanic in it that I've seen in future games, but I did not know that there was a game on the NES with this mechanic. And that gameplay mechanic is the ability to reverse gravity, to where if you're on the floor, you can make yourself go to the ceiling and vice versa. And you do this by holding up or down and pressing A, depending on whether you're on the ceiling or the ground. You can also jump, and you can shoot in 4 directions: left, right, up, down. You get power-ups for your weapon as you progress through each stage. This game is a lot of fun, and it's also incredibly difficult. However, you do have infinite continues, which I love in these NES games. So if you lose all your lives, you can continue in that same level and try to beat it again. So really, if you persevere enough, you can make it through this game with infinite continues. What makes the game difficult is you get hit once and you're dead, kind of like Contra. So you really got to kind of take your time and learn the levels, learn the patterns, learn the best way to maneuver through each level and avoid the traps and kill/avoid the enemies, so that you can make it to the end of the stage, which there is a boss fight at the end of every stage, and the boss fights are quite difficult as well. I feel like this game was a little bit ahead of its time with the whole reverse gravity mechanic, and it is a lot of fun. Like I said, it's difficult, and this game has really nice sprite work. The music is really good. The gameplay is nice and tight. The enemy variety is good. It's just a fantastic game, and I can't believe that I don't hear anybody ever talk about this game. Total hidden gem, quality title on the NES that I think everybody should check out. That's Metal Storm. Next up on the list is a little game called Conquest of the Crystal Palace. So I actually got this game in the large game lot that I mentioned earlier, and when I saw it, I'd never heard of this game before, and it looked very interesting. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to check it out, and maybe it will end up being one of the 5 games in this video, and sure enough, it did. This game is freaking awesome. So good. In this game, you play as a young prince, a teenage prince named Pharaon, and you team up with a magical dog named Zap in order to retake the Crystal Palace from an evil individual named Zarus. This game is a 2D action platformer, and what's funny is I was playing it wrong at first. I didn't realize that you could switch weapons. So in this game, let me take a step back. In this game, when you first start out, you have 3 different crystals to choose from that you will keep for the rest of the game. One increases your attack, one increases your health, and one increases your jump height. I chose the one that increased my attack. As you play the game, you can get power-ups that will increase the other things as well, your jump height and your health. Now, in the game, you have 3 primary abilities, and I didn't even realize this for a while into it as I was playing, but you have your basic sword that you can use to attack. You also have a long-range attack that you can switch to by holding down and pressing the A button, and you can also activate Zap the dog, who also has his own health bar, as you do have a health bar as well. When you activate Zap the dog, he hops around the screen killing enemies for you until he dies and runs out of health. which you can restore as you progress through the game. He's incredibly useful, but you don't want to use him all the time because he'll die pretty quickly on you. And when I was playing, I was just started off using the sword like a dummy, and then finally realized you could switch to the other thing. And that made the game a whole heck of a lot easier because it is a pretty tough game. You got to kind of take your time, learn the levels, learn the enemies, just like most NES games. However, the game is an absolute blast. The sprite work is really good. The music is really good. It's just such a fun game, and you do have infinite continues. Thank freaking goodness you have infinite continues. So if you lose all your lives, you just have to start the level over from the beginning. As you get better, you'll learn the levels more and more and be able to progress through it pretty quickly. Just a really good game. Oh, I also forgot to mention there's also an item shop that you find in each level. Sometimes more than one, sometimes kind of hidden. If you find the hidden one, the prices are discounted. But in the item shop, you can heal yourself. You can buy additional power-ups for your ranged weapons. You can increase your max health. You can increase your jump height. You can heal your dog's zap. A lot of different things that you can buy with crystals that you pick up as you play through the game. I can't believe I never hear anybody talk about this game because it's such a great game. So here is another hidden gem on the NES that I think everybody should check out, and that is Conquest of the Crystal Palace. And last but certainly not least is an SNK game called Guerrilla War. Wow, this game is an absolute freaking blast. It is a top-down shooter, and it can be played with 1 to 2 players, and it's just so simplistic. You move, you have a button to shoot, and you have a button to throw bombs. You have infinite ammo, you have infinite bombs. As you progress, you will get power-ups for your guns, and you can also find a tank that you can hop into, and you can get power-ups for it as well. However, the tank is temporary. After a while, it will start to flash and make a noise telling you it's about to explode, and you better hop out of it or you're going to explode with it. So in this game, it's a run and gun style game. You're just running through the levels, killing as many enemies as you can, trying to avoid their gunfire and their bombs, while also trying to rescue hostages in the game, which you can accidentally kill as well if you're not careful, and it will take away from your score. And then at the end of each level, there's a boss fight. The game is just so much fun, and I didn't get a chance to play it with 2 players, but I'm sure it would be even funner with 2 players. Such a great game. SNK, they make really good games. I mean, I can't think of a bad SNK game. I'm sure you can. Let me know in the comments down below. But it's just such a fun game, and it is really difficult, but here's the thing. You do have lives, but here's what's cool about this game. You have infinite continues, but what's even better is when you die and you decide to continue, it just starts you right where you died. So you can literally play through this entire game. You have infinite lives and infinite continues. So even though it's hard, you should be able to beat this game eventually if you just keep pushing through, because of the fact that you'll start right where you died. The challenge for veteran players or people that want to do better at the game is to just try to make it through it without dying and maximizing your score, which would be very difficult because it is a pretty tough game. It's probably, I think it is my favorite game out of the 5 so far. Such a quality title, and I don't understand why I don't hear anybody talk about Guerrilla War. Total hidden gem on the NES from SNK. So go check out Guerrilla War. So there you have it, everybody. 5 more games on the NES that I never hear anybody talk about, that I consider to be hidden gems, and that I think you should check it out. Just a quick recap. We have the Guardian Legend, Monster Party, Metal Storm, Conquest of the Crystal Palace, and Guerrilla War. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure and hit that like button, and let me know in the comments down below if you've played any of these 5 games and what you think about them, and if you can give me some tips about the game, that would be much appreciated as well. Also, let me know in the comments down below if there are any other NES games that you never hear anybody talk about that you consider hidden gems, so that I can possibly include those in a future video. As always, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so that you can join the Retro Wolf family. Keep playing games and having a good time, and I will see you all in the next video. Later.